Good morning to everybody again, once more, for people who have just joined also. This is Shruti Singh, and I'll be moderating today's session from TNI Career Counseling. Uh, a brief introduction about TNI. We have been into this profession of career counseling and admission counseling for the last 12 years. And we have been doing it under the guidance of Mr. Dhaval. Most of you all already know a lot about him. He has around 17 years of experience as a career coach, and he has been coaching and mentoring students for global admissions, India and abroad, for various courses in Masters and MBA. Today we also have in the session, we'll be having Mr. Shankar Muralidharan from Flame University. We have Rohit from HDFC Credila, who will be also guiding on any kind of education loans. We also have Mahir Javeri, who is a TCC student, and she will be guiding and according to her experience, what has been her experience.
Well, Mahir is a he.
Okay,
So
sorry.
no, that's okay. So
Yeah.
Mahir is also with us, and Mahir is a student of Sabu Siddiqui. He completed his automobile engineering from there, and he applied this year for a Masters of Science and in automobile engineering, and he's received admission to a number of universities in the US. So he will just share his experience also. And one of our other sponsors is Smash. Please take it away. Shruti, you can continue.
Yeah, so we on as most of you all know that we have around 50 plus TCC mentors and advisors to help you to understand the whole admission process globally for undergraduate MBA and graduate programs. You can see on the slide various mentors and advisors and the kind of background they have. They have faced similar kind of challenges in their academic life, and they are all very willing to help students uh, in the scenarios which they find it students find very difficult, uh, of where to go, whom to ask. So fortunately, we have these 50 plus advisors who are consistently helping through TCC. We also have, our in-house test prep and extracurricular support uh, individuals. It includes people like Parth, Anchal, Osama, and Pooja. They are
So
continuously
many of
helping.
them many of them are also, of course, IITians, but they've also gotten education abroad, or they've studied abroad, and that sort of helps them understand both the situation of how things in India work, and how they can actually train students for looking at careers, or looking at programs in India or abroad. So we have a diverse set, and of course, this is not the only number of experts that we have on board. We encounter many of them as we move along, and we have a network of about 50 odd such extracurricular test prep experts that we have on board. Why do you want this masters? What is important to you? What are your career goals after this? We make them think a little bit more, reflect on them. We also make them take a career test that helps them understand themselves a little bit better. The same thing happened with Nikunj. We helped him with his undergraduate process, where he went to Lehigh University after he finished his MD from Singapore International School. And he was a little bit confused, that should I go in for a management course, or a master's. And we kind of helped him walk through and understand that so he had taken environmental engineering at Lehigh. Lehigh is in Pennsylvania, USA, and it's fairly well known. It's a private university, fairly well known for its programs. And he was very interested in the kind of project work that he was doing at Lehigh, which was more focused on more focused on science related project work, because he was working on more sustainable development type of projects. And so he also realized that maybe he could combine a master's and some management courses as well. So we shortlisted a couple of universities that had both, the Masters of Science, Engineering, as well as management. And we ended up applying to about 7 odd universities. and he had about a 3.8 CGPA, 3.76. We also helped him think about internships during his summers, and he had some one or two great projects that he worked on. One was, in Tamale, they had come up with wooden pellets, essentially as a way to, a more sustainable way to, help the population with the problem of not having to transport gasoline or anything else in the house, and use wooden pellets, for cooking purposes. So he had a lot of these interesting projects that he was also working on, and that whole putting all of that together really did help him with his sort of future goals. And that happened through a couple of mentoring sessions that we had with him also. And then we decided we're going to apply to these universities. He started working on the GMAT, the GRE exam, and we helped him with a tutor for that as well. And he had a 321 at the end. Applied to the all 7 programs, and by February 1st or second week, he had answers from all of them, and he received admission in all the 7 universities. So he currently is at Stanford, and he's graduating this semester. Of course, you understand the situation with the coronavirus. Most of the US universities have moved online. Most of them moved around, the beginning. So I would say the second week of April, second week of March, and things are fine now. Of course, it's a very unusual situation. We're in extraordinary times. So you can imagine that it's a little bit, it's we would think sitting here, how is all Mahir is at Sabu Siddiqui. When he came to us, he was working, with his, father. His father has a garage, which is for classic cars, and he worked on refurbishment of that. Mahir, are you online?
Yeah, I'm online. I'm here.
Awesome, fantastic. So, welcome, Mahir, and maybe do you want to just walk through your journey?
I did a undergrad automobile engineering in Sabu Siddiqui College, which is at Baikala in Mumbai itself, and I've always been into the car scene since I was very young. Always been very passionate about cars, so I knew that I've always wanted to pursue something to do with cars only, like be it engineering or photography or something of that sort. But I've always found that I've had a niche in the technical aspects of things, such as engineering and all that. Since my father has always had this workshop, and he used to keep repairing and restoring cars, so I used to always have a great interest in the technical aspect of vehicles, which is why I decided that I want to pursue an engineering degree, which I did. And my performance was not that great, as I was somehow not able to adapt to the system here. But I was always interested in all these extracurricular activities, such as the kart racing championship, where we had to actually build a go-kart from ground up, and even the SAE India, where we had to build a Formula Supra Formula kart. So it simulates something like an F1 race.
Yeah.
And this has always interested me, and I've always done very well in these things. So even though I did not have a very great GPA, I've always been very good at all these extracurricular activities and things like that. But we do need a relatively higher GPA to get into college, so to try to get into a master's program. So TCC has been very great in helping me with figuring my entire portfolio out. Training and
Mahir,
things
one of the
like
things
that.
we missed also is that you had a research project which you did on biodiesel, right?
Yeah, correct. Of course.
Was very important. So a lot of it is also, the great part here was that you were very interested in being in automobile, and you'd done a lot of extracurriculars in some ways with the research project on biodiesel, plus the kart championship and Supra. And of course, having this range of internships which you did, so that all these put together, plus the Trinity communication, I think, which you did. Maybe you want to talk a bit about that, how that really also helped you.
So Trinity Communications is basically an exam that helps you with various important things that are required in your any kind of study program. Actually, it doesn't necessarily have to be a master's, but they teach you exactly how to make a very impactful and good presentation, how to make public speeches and things like that. And when you are in a program, in an undergrad or a master's program, you are expected to make a lot of presentations and things like that for any kind of reason, really. Like when you're presenting a certain topic on something that you have done, maybe doing a sponsorship presentation for Supra or something like that, because we needed to take in some kind of sponsorship to fund it. And all these things are very helpful. And Trinity Communications has been a great learning experience in that aspect, because I always thought I was good at making presentations, but then when I actually go to give the exam, I realize that there are so many things that I can do better, and the way I can present as well is so important. So all these things were taught to me through Trinity Communications, grade 7 and 8, and they have been of a great help to even help me with the application process. And since I've scored good marks in that, that's always a benefit as well.
And I think the other factor was also when you put your application together, we had the SOPs, the diversity statement. So you
Yeah,
typically have two statements which you have for most masters programs, and you really need to make sure that you cover length and breadth of information in that, and there's a number of words. So every school has a stipulation, maybe 500 words. Someone gives you more. So you also have to be able to tailor make it, but keep the information, in place. Also, one of the other parts I think you ended up doing also, and I think our team really helped you also with, is kind of connect with the professors, and build a
yeah,
list of who you can get in touch with. And talk to about what you really want to do, and that's how you also have the graduate research assistantship. Um,
correct. Yeah.
the award. And I think in addition to this, they've also offered you a $3,000 scholarship, right? Recently.
Yeah, so basically what I've got so far from them is the graduate assistantship. They have given me a little bit of funding other than that, and
Yeah.
they offered me a one-term internship where I'll be working full time with any company affiliated with Kettering University that is
And
doing very relevant work in the automotive sphere. It will be fully paid for. It'll be a fully salaried job, and
yeah.
I'll essentially be working full time for the length of one term, where I'll be getting a lot of experience in an actual industry, and
Fantastic.
I'll be getting paid as well, and I'll be getting a good education as well. So,
Awesome. I'm just going to
yes,
walk you through also a case study of Vivek. So Vivek met us at the MBA tour. He was working at Tata Technologies. He had just started working. It had been about 2 or 3 months. And he came to me saying, I would want to do maybe an MBA. And I said that, why are you only considering an MBA? Because it'll take you 3 years. When your goals were, to kind of move abroad, and he was fairly certain about Canada. So I said, why don't you look at Masters in Business Analytics or Masters in Business Management? There are MIM courses for about a year to year and a half. And so he started also, researching himself. He understood. He said, no, this is great. This is a great way for me to shorten the amount of time that I would have to actually put in. Because imagine you put in 3 years over here and worked at a company. When you consider that you want to actually go to study maybe at Canada, one of the things that they look at is, most of the I would say the batch sizes in Canadian universities are not very large compared to the US. So US for an MBA might have about 500 to even 1,000 of a batch size, but in Canada it's much smaller. It's anywhere between 55 to about 300. So the largest is being Rotman, which is about 300. The others are much smaller, sizes for the batch sizes. And so I also told him that it's going to be a challenge. 3 years waiting through, then applying. And I said, why don't you consider this year applying to a Masters of Analytics, which is also a very sought after course. So it kind of springboards you to great opportunities as well. And so we went ahead with the application process, shortlisted 5 universities, including Ivy, York, the Schulich School of Business, and we did. And then we decided that let's start with these three, the application process. And, we helped him again with the test prep. He got a 320 in his, a 321 in his GRE and an 8 in an IELTS. And he did this all within 45 days. So he came in October. We helped him through this whole process. He got his scores. Within December, we already put in the application for McGill and for Ivy and for York, and he got the first. So after that, of course, he got an interview call from all three of them. Though it happened after sort of in a span of time. He gave his interview for McGill, and post that, within a week, he was told that he's gotten the admission. That was end January, early February, and he got an $8,000 scholarship with it. And so then he came back to me. He's like, "Should I just take it?" Or so I said, "Why don't we wait for Ivy to come back?" And they came back with an interview on the 5th, but then McGill wanted to hear back from him on the 10th, so we asked them to delay, asked for an extension. And he went through the Ivy interview, and then they accepted him also and offered him another $5,000 scholarship. So he has now, of course, 3 offers. He has even York. We didn't even end up applying to the other 3 because other 2, because he already had these 3, universities. And of course, there was a lot of planning that was done to make sure. And there he had, imagine he was working, from 9:30 in the morning until 6:30 in the evening, or 7 sometimes, and he would still have his GRE classes for an hour and a half, and then he would study through it. So he also put in a lot of effort into the process, but we just guided him through. That's helped him with his decision. Divya is another candidate that we had who completed her education at Duke University. She was a commerce student. And she didn't want to complete her CA. She felt that after the intermediate, she didn't want to go ahead with CA. And so we said, okay, we're going to help you out with the process, and clarify what kind of courses she could do. And finishing at 3 years without an experience, the best choice that she also had for the experience was a master's in management. That's what so we helped her apply to about 5 colleges. She got accepted into Duke University and Boston, and she decided to go to Duke University, which was her dream school. She was actually shortlisted. She was waitlisted in the other 3, but she didn't want to go ahead and ask for to convert the waitlist. So she had Duke, and she went ahead with that, and she graduated with high honors, and she's currently working at ENY. Idea of what factors to consider for a postgraduate education, and how do you actually value each one of the countries. Of course, I'm sure that you hear a lot in the news about how things are going to pan out for universities abroad, but remember that they are very well positioned with the online system of education, and they want to make sure that their students are safe. So this kind of a chart kind of gives you more of an idea. Also, it covers the budgeting, and we've given an overall value to each one of the countries. So I can discuss this in the Q&A round as we move along. How to choose a country. Again, India has a few options, not expensive, low ROI. For most others, except some of the universities that we have seen, I can answer those questions as well. US is expensive, but good for all majors. Especially STEM courses are seeing high preference. H1, because a STEM course gets an extension, so you can see 2 cycles to apply to an H1. Green card takes over 7 years. Some have taken 10, 12 years as well. Scholarships are available. That's the good news. Canada is slightly cheaper. McGill, for instance, Masters of Management costs about 35 lakhs, inclusive. If you get the scholarship, about 35 lakhs is what you would pay with the living costs. When they give you an internship, which is guaranteed, and then most of the job that they have a 98% placement rate. And what they've seen is that their jobs typically pay anyway for a business analytics program anywhere between 65 to 75,000 Canadian dollars. Of course, and I also will discuss, and I'm sure Rahul is there and Amit to discuss the loan options that you have and how it makes more sense to do that, even from a visa perspective. UK is, cheaper, because you could either take the 1 year, 1.5 year courses, and there are many scholarships also available for UK universities today. Plus, you have 2 years of a visa now that you're getting for a work visa to stay back. The education system is also good in the UK, and any other questions you have, I'll be able to answer as you move along. Europe, language is a barrier. International students from Asian countries are lower. Visa and work for technology, engineering, humanities, social sciences are surely great options. Australia, again, it's great for those who are professionals. Technology, it's a bit secluded from the world, so it's not that it's not a great option. If you like something like that, again, it all depends on your goals. So choosing a country is very important. Your goals are in place. I'm just going to move to the basic requirements for programs in PG, masters abroad. So consistently good academic, report or an upward sloping curve. We put 6.5, but honestly, a 7 to a 9+ is what everyone really looks at. GRE, GMAT scores need to be fairly good. For a master's, typically doing a GRE is fine. You don't have to do a GMAT unless you feel that you might want to use a GMAT later, but yet a GRE is something that you could look at. We'll also go through GRE versus GMAT. Internships, published papers, professional certifications are also very helpful. 2 to 4 years of focused extracurriculars, participation, winning any Olympiad, state level competitions if you've done so, also great. Community service is also very good to have because they're going to ask you that in the diversity statement. Full-time work experience, if any. So this is just giving you an idea. For a study abroad, it does help being from a diverse background, constructing a unique story, showing uniqueness through a skill acquired and used to accomplish a task or outcome. 3 years bachelor from an NAAC A grade university is accepted in most cases. So also from case to case basis, program to program basis. MBA, again, here the difference is, of course, that you need to have a 690 plus in your GMAT. If you're looking at most MBA courses, they prefer to have a GMAT. That being said, you can give a GRE, in which case you would typically want a 320 plus. Even a 324, 2025 would be even better. Leadership focused projects, activities, community service. There's a lot of focus on leadership in most MBA programs in things of how have you been a leader, what have you done. Your LORs need to talk consistently about leadership across the board. That helps a lot. Just going to move across to basic requirements of PG in India other than ISB, because ISB does look at the GMAT version of it. So consistently good academic record. Of course, your CAT, ZAT, NMAT, and if it's MTech, then the GATE exam. Internship, professional certifications, leadership-focused projects, activities. These are some of the things that you should think of basic requirements. Also, when I'm actually looking at the GRE, typically, so this is sort of like a chart that's built out that, if you're doing a GRE versus GMAT versus TOEFL, community service, academics, extracurriculars, how sooner can you actually start? If you write to us, we can share this chart to you as well. But I think you'd see most of the times you can start, if you start about a year ahead, you're good. So try to do things about a year ahead. The exams are typically valid for I would say 5 years, but most of them want to see scores which are not more than 2 to 3 years old. So this is just a slide that kind of, can get you started in terms of thinking about things. So identifying your interests. When you're already taking the UG studies, you have a story for your masters of why do you want to take up a master's or an MBA. And so basically, it should be also through action. So what are the things that you're doing? So that's why, taking your interests more seriously and pursuing them, taking internships, Coursera courses, projects, doing research work, all of this is really going to help you. And that's what you'll be able to write eventually when this SOP comes together. And of course, doing a lot of research on country requirements. That's where we come in. We help you out, think through all of these things while you're actually applying. You can also, of course, talk to ex-students, and I'm sure that's where you find a whole dearth of information. A whole lot of information. Things to remember while applying is you need to check deadlines, plan taking the tests, talk to your teachers, managers. So I'll tell you, most of these GRE, GMAT exams, they also quickly adapt. So don't think that, because of the current scenario, they might not have them online. There's a very good possibility. I can tell you College Board that gives the SAT, ACT, and the APs. So for APs, which is a 3.5-hour exam that school students take, it's called the Advanced Placement Tests, which are like individual tests for subjects. And they have over 25 of them. They actually this year decided to take them online. And instead of the 3.5-hour format, they made it a 45 minutes format. So remember that you will hear back from these, who will come back with some kind of an alternative format quickly so that everyone can start taking them online if they can't really go to a center. We will see all of those, messages, things of that sort come through very quickly. I'm just going to skip things because I don't want to, put in too much time and take time from the others. Also, we run a career test that gives us an understanding of the person as well in terms of, so this is a Briggs-Myers test, gives us an understanding of their personality, what their career interest types are. So are they investigative, artistic, realistic, enterprising, social or conventional? And also what their career motivators are. Are they adventurous? Do they, appreciate continuous learning, social work, creativity, a high-paced environment, independence, a structured work environment? These are the things also help you while you construct your story. And then, of course, what are your learning styles? Are you more of a hands-on learning person versus auditory learning? These are some of the 10 popular Coursera courses that we've essentially seen, where you can see machine learning is what everyone else is doing. The science of well-being, algorithms, Bitcoin. For some of you, this is just like very basic, but this is just giving you an idea of how the world is trending towards courses which are more popular. That's why you actually hear them, and you hear many of them taking these courses. So now GRE, the GRE consists of it's about 3 hours 45 minutes. It's out of 340. You can see that you have the analytical writing section, which has 2 essays, the issue and the argument. So these are 30 minutes each. The verbal reasoning section, again, you're going to see 2 sections, 20 questions, 30 minutes each. The quantitative reasoning section has 2 types of multiple choice questions, 2 sections, 20 questions, 35 minutes each. So we're going to go through also some of these bits in the next slides. This is just an overview. GMAT is the structures, analytical writing, integrated reasoning, verbal reasoning, and quantitative as the sections. Again, the analytical is, 1 essay writing the task, which is the argument. It's 30 minutes. The integrated reasoning. Now, this section involves interpretation of tabular, graphical, and written information, which is 12 questions, 30 minutes. Verbal reasoning. So the verbal reasoning and the quantitative reasoning section are actually adaptive. Adaptive, that means it'll kind of get a more accurate score depending on your ability to answer easy, medium, difficult questions. That's just something you need to be wary about. So your score, and many times people ask me this, that, I'm getting a score on the mock, but the problem with the GMAT is also, and the GRE, of course, GRE to a little bit, well, I feel GRE, you could still do mocks and get a little bit of a score, which is somewhat reasonably closer to the real one. With the GMAT, it's also the day of the exam. It's, most of the mocks don't give you an idea of what the final, score is going to be. And I've seen most of them taking the GMAT, more than once. So 80% of the cases I've seen them taking the GMAT more than once, because most of them are looking at getting a score higher than 700. Many of them who are applying to the US schools, they've been trying to get a score of 740 plus, which is hard. So this is just giving GMAT versus GRE. Business schools, number of sections. So GMAT for business schools versus GRE for graduate. For today, really, I think everyone is accepting both the GMAT and GRE unless the program states so. Majority of them are okay with both of the exams, whether if it's for an MIM course or whether if it's for an MBA course. Or a master's, so masters, though, typically if you're applying for a master's of science or engineering, a GRE is a good test to go with. Especially for engineers, yes, the verbal section is something you have to spend more time on. I think we'll go through that again. So you'll see the verbal section in GMAT is about 1, GRE is 2. Number of questions also, which you can see is 41 versus 40. And then the length is 75 minutes versus 60 minutes here. They sort of, in a sense, do tend to have similar type of questions, but they're still fairly different in terms of how they ask the questions. So with the GMAT, it's reading comprehension, critical reasoning, and sentence correction, versus the GRE being reading comprehension, text completion, and sentence equivalence. Score ranges, again, 0 to 60 versus 130 to 170. Quantitative aspect is, as you can see, the GMAT has 2 sections. GRE also has 2. Number of quantitative questions, 49. So 37 for quantitative, 12 for reasoning. And then on the GRE is about 40, which is 20 in each section. The length of time is 105 minutes in total, 75 for quantitative, 30 for integrated reasoning, and 60 minutes, which is 30 for each section. Main topics tested on the quantitative for GMAT is data sufficiency, problem solving, versus the integrated reasoning is more multi-source reasoning, graphic interpretation, 2-part analysis, and table analysis. GRE is more arithmetic, algebra, geometry, and data analysis. So the writing sections, again, I think I've gone through that. If there's any more questions, happy to take them. Masters, we've looked at top universities for masters in India. And I think I would like else to sort of start taking things up.
Yeah, so Dhaval, I think we have Mr. Shankar from Frame University has joined. His university also has Masters program. Mr. Dhaval
has an MBA as well. So yeah, I'd love Shankar. If Shankar, if you can throw some light, it would be great. I'm glad to have you here.
Sir, we can't hear you, sir.
Yeah, am I audible now? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
yes.
Hi, Shankar.
And I'm yeah. Morning, Dhaval. How are you? All good?
Absolutely fine. It's glad to have you here.
Yeah. So you can both see me and you can hear me, right? I'm waving my hand here.
Yes, we can see you and hear you, sir.
Wonderful. Morning, Dhaval. Morning to all the students who are here. So yeah, Dhaval, can you just set the context of what all you have discussed, because I was there, then I kind of went back and now I've joined in. So give me a gist of what all you've spoken till now, and then I'll take it on from there.
So I think so far I've actually covered, the success stories that we've had for students who who've decided to take a master's or an MBA, and we've gone through those success stories, and then just the requirements for a master's or an MBA, also the GRE and the GMAT. And some of the other that students would have to take if they want, if it's the GATE for the MTech, or if it's the CAT, or the NMAT. So we've just gone through some of those requirements, and then of course we're just looking at a few universities. And I think that you've been a part of this in terms of a master, a PG and UG perspective. But of course you've been someone who knows the MBA programs very well. Talk about MBA programs in India.
It's all sort of So once again, morning to all my friends here, morning to all the students here. I am Shankar. I head the marketing for at Flame University at Pune, and I kind of oversee the undergrad program, and I kind of directly involve myself in the PG program. So that's my background. And I've been in this field for the last 20 years, so 20 years of education. I've also been a visiting faculty for a lot of other business schools here and there. I mean, SPGIMR and a lot of the other Bombay-based schools. I've been visiting them for a long time now. So that's kind of my background, guys. So I'll just take it on from there. So I'll just orient you for the next 10-15 minutes on what I think. There's a slide I can see in front of me which talks about the top universities for masters in India. So I'll just orient you with what I think about the whole scene. I mean, having done this for 2 decades, and then you guys can ask me questions on chats, and we'll take it on from there. So that's how we'll do it. I think, see, first and foremost, the fundamental difference between doing a master's, be it India, be it abroad, the fundamental difference between doing a master's and doing a graduation. Graduation is something which you have to do. I mean, class 12th is over. You have to do a graduation. There are not too many people who take a drop of maybe 1 or 2 or 3 years. There are some who drop out of a class 12 for a year or two to prepare for these entrance exams and so on. But essentially, graduation is something that everybody does. You won't hear of people, who stopped after class 12 or who haven't done graduation and so on. So graduation is a compulsory thing. People have to do that. Masters, on the contrary, is very different. You don't essentially have to do a master's immediately after graduation. You may do it after 2-3 years of work experience. You may do it in India. You may do it abroad. You may not do it as well. You might just go, grow the corporate ladder and so on and so forth. So I think fundamentally that's one big difference. Graduation is something which you have to do after class 12. Masters is something that you can think of. So lesson number 1, which I would like to say is, I mean, MBA is like marriage. MBA is like marriage. Do it late, but don't do it wrong. Do it late. It's okay. 1 or 2 years of work experience. In fact, it's actually preferred. Most of the good universities in India, for example, if you look at Flame, I mean, the batch that we had in 2018, which is just passing out this year. I mean, we've got a gentleman who's almost 30 years old. So every second student studying in Flame, you'll find kids with experience of 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, industry experience, and so on and so forth. So it's actually preferred to work for 2-3 years, then do an MBA. So point number 1, it's very much like marriage. You do your masters once. Not too many people think of doing a master's, a double master's or whatever. So do it late, but don't do it wrong. Point number 1. Point number 2, it's not essential to have work experience though. Although it's preferred, it's good if you have 2 years of experience. It could be software, it could be your father's business, whatever. It's good to have experience. Having said that, there are a lot of freshers. So again, if you talk about Flame University, we have a wonderful mix of freshers and those with work experience. It's not mandatory at all to have experience. It's good if you have. Typically, the highest packages post MBA, the packages of the big fat packages post MBA typically go to students with work experience. So as a fresher, it's not that you will have any problem, but yes, there will be some, I would not say issues, but you will have to maybe involve yourself more in the MBA program. You'll have to do more internships, take support from others who have work experience to understand concepts. So I think it's going to be a good mix. So the point I'm trying to convey here is, if your college, whenever you're graduating, if there are good campus placements to be offered, if you're getting packages worth 6 lakh, 5 lakh, 7 lakh, etc. I'm not talking of those 2 lakh, 3 lakh call center sales jobs. If you're getting packages worth 6 lakh, 7 lakh, etc. from college, I would say take it up, work for 2-3 years. You can always be in touch with people like Dhaval. You can start preparing for GRE, GMAT. You have the CAT and the ZAT and the other exams for MBA in India. So you could keep doing that. If you've got a good package after graduation, work for 2-3 years and then do an MBA or an executive MBA. But then if you don't have a great package after college, or if your college doesn't offer great placements, then you have no choice. You will have to settle down into a good MBA program. Having said so, it's okay. 1 or 2 years of drop here and there. A lot of people have this problem in mind that, what happens if I sit at 1 year doing, at home doing nothing. It's okay. You can always say you're doing bodybuilding, you are actually building your hobbies, you're practicing stuff. So it's absolutely fine to take a break of 1 or 2 years. Understand what your hobbies are, understand what passionates are, what your interest is, then kind of do it. Because my problem is, for everyone, I mean, we are the only country, India is the only country in the world where number of these schools have grown up almost 100 times in 20 years. Only 20 years back, we had around 40 business schools. Today, we have 4,000 business schools. And a lot of them don't really make sense. A lot of them don't have an executive MBA program. A lot of them don't have the right mix of male-female ratio, metropolitan, non-metropolitan. The balance is not there. Student diversity is not there. So beware, be careful. Again, if you look at Flame for that matter, we have a lot of kids from metros, so Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, Hyderabad. At the same time, you have, one odd from Jaipur, one odd from Indore, one odd from Lucknow. So I think that diversity, male-female ratio, work X, not, work X to freshers, metropolitan city, non-metro, that ratio is extremely important. There are so many schools in Pune, I'm currently in Pune, and same happens to be in Pune. We've got a beautiful 60-acre campus, and Oxford Golf Resort is partnered by us. In fact, everybody who does an MBA at Flame, you have to play golf. Golf is a compulsory subject. You have to play golf. One of Asia's largest golf courses is partnered with us. But if you look at Pune city, or if you look at Mumbai city, or if you look at, say, Delhi NCR or Bangalore, there are so many institutions. 90% of them don't even have students studying from that respective city. There are so many institutions in Pune or Bombay. You will hardly find a Mumbaiker. You will hardly find it studying in those colleges. So please be careful of these institutions. Choose.
And
that's why
And Shankar, can you talk also slightly about what is the fees and what is the requirements for your MBA program?
Yeah, see, you need to be a graduate, number one, with minimum qualifying. So 50% is what we have. Having said so, it's always good to have 60% in 10, 60% in 12, and 60% in graduation. In fact, the higher the better. There are companies which come on campus. We had Amazon coming in. We had a couple of companies coming. They're very strict with respect to percentage cutoffs. There are some companies that interview only 10, 60%, 12, 60% graduation or above. Having said so, eligibility is 50. It's good to have 60, 70 plus. It's good to be a school topper. These things help, number one. Number two, we accept CAT, we accept GMAT, we accept ZAT, we accept CET Maharashtra. There is no cutoff as such, but again, the unwritten, unofficial cutoff would be a 75 to 80 percentile in any of these exams. We also accept the MAT scores. Having said so, it's very holistic, Unlike the other institutions, which, for example, if you look at the IIM Ahmedabad or IIM Bangalore or one of the top schools, unless you get a 95 plus in CAT, there is no way you'll have a GDPI call to these institutions. We don't function that way. We interview every candidate. Almost every candidate who applies to us is interviewed by us. So the interview is given some weightage. We also have, we also make you write essays in the application. So there are 3 to 4 essays which you write in the application, which has a statement of purpose, your profile, extracurriculars, as somebody was talking some time back, So we are very much American in thought and philosophy and Indian in implementation. That's the way we do it. A lot of our faculties, we have close to 100 faculty members. As a university, we have undergrad, postgrad programs. We would not have more than 1,000 students on campus, but we have 100 plus faculty members. It's almost a 1:10 ratio. I don't think any other university in Asia can, in India can actually boast about that kind of a ratio. It's a 1:10 ratio. A lot of these faculties stay on campus. A lot of these faculties have done their PhDs from Kellogg, from Wharton, from, the top, in simple terms, faculty credentials from the top universities. And yes, so there is weightage that goes to the CAT ZAT scores. In fact, last year, almost half the batch, or maybe if I am to give you the numbers, close to 28 students got a huge scholarship. We are very generous in giving scholarships. Talking about fees, the moment you apply with a 90 plus in CAT or a 90 plus in ZAT or a 650 plus in GMAT or 3 to 4 years of relevant work experience, the moment you come with that, you are almost guaranteed of 100% scholarship. Having said so, you got to clear the interview as well.
And how big is the batch size? Is it about 100, 120?
Yeah, we usually look at somewhere between 80 to 100. So we have 2 programs. We have an MBA, we have an MBA communication. In fact, after MICA, I think we would be the second best in the country offering an MBA communication. So an MBA communication is typically for those who are very clear, they don't like mathematics and they want to get into things like journalism, advertising, digital marketing, film and television. So the MBA communication typically has 15-20 students year after year, and the MBA has around 60 to 70 students year after year. We consciously don't have an intake of more than 100. We consciously don't take 100 because, and this around 100 also that we take, as I said, the ratio is very high. There are guys with working. In fact, a few years back, there was a lady who joined us when she was 33 years old. Her son was in class 7th and she came to do an MBA, a 2-year full-time MBA at 33 years of age. So we also get those kind of, having said so, we also get freshers. We get kids from the country's best brands and so on and so forth. But yes, we are very, very generous. Almost every second kid in Flame would get a scholarship and almost every third kid would get a scholarship. So we are very generous, we are very generous in giving scholarships. Yeah, tell me.
And so what is the teaching methodology at your university?
Well, see, as I said, there are close to 100 faculties. Around 20 of them stay on campus. It's 100% fully residential campus. Even if your cousins or relatives or mama or uncle is staying in Pune, you still have to stay inside the Flame campus. It's 100% residential. Of course, you can roam around. Once Corona is over, once kids are back in campus, the cutoff time to enter the campus is 1:15 a.m. in the night.
That's another question I have for you, is that how are you handling the corona virus situation right now? How is it, the campus?
Well, there are no kids on campus now. All the kids have been told to go home. Faculty, many of them stay on campus, so the campus is still functional. We have so many families staying on campus. Couple of my colleagues are staying on campus. So that way, it's a very safe campus. And if you see, we've got cameras fitted every now and then. So from all perspectives, we've got a wonderful mess, wonderful dining hall. We
Absolutely.
serve very good food. I mean, it's just, so there are a lot of families. There are some 20 families, faculty staying on campus right now. So they have kind of, so they are not allowed to leave the campus, and people like me who don't stay on campus are not allowed to enter the campus for now. But there are no students staying on campus right now. They've all been asked to leave home.
And classes, so were there some classes still pending? Have you all moved that online? How have you all?
Oh, everything. I mean, as I said, the faculty at Flame, every second one of them would have done a PhD from Harvard, from Stanford, from Kellogg, from Wharton. They come with a lot of international experience.
Sure.
So we have a lot of people who've spent 25, 30 years in the US. Some of them would have been with Michigan as well.
Have the classes moved online then? So any classes?
Yes. So classes are happening on Skype. Faculty is doing everything possible on online methodology. I don't think the exams will get postponed. We are a very academics heavy organization. We also focus heavily on extracurricular work, NGO activities, slum relief, tribal welfare, etc.
So is this going to be all going to be online also? Are you thinking that
academics? Yes, as of now is happening online.
So the exam. So you think the exam also might take place online, right? Then I guess.
Well, the exams are usually scheduled. I mean, we have a trimester pattern. We have exams happening every 3 months. So the last trimester just got over some time back, so luckily we got saved. And I hope within 90 days this problem will get solved. So I don't see a reason why the exam should be moved online, because the teaching methodology, the pedagogy has entirely been moved online for now at least. Yeah.
Got it. Fantastic. This is great. Thank you so much, Shankar. It's
my pleasure, guys.
A lot of information on Flame, and I think that an understanding. And I think that if they have any questions, of course, we'll make sure that they get across to you. And let them know more about Flame University. So
absolutely,
you're welcome to stay up. Stay back, and if there are any more questions, you're welcome to stay back. I'm just going to also pass this information through to the next. So basically, Amit and Rahul and team who are here. If there are any Q&As, of course, for a loan process, students can come through and ask you in terms of where. But maybe Rahul and Amit, maybe at this time, if you just want to briefly mention for a couple of minutes, what is your process of securing a loan? Because I think that the loan is really helpful at a time when you go for a visa today. The biggest reason is because I've seen many of them whose visas are rejected.
Sorry to interrupt, Dhaval. I think we should inform the participants that we'll be extending by another 15 minutes.
Yes, please. Thank you so much, Shruti, for that. Thank you. So, Amit or Rahul, do you want to just quickly mention a little bit about that? The process that you all follow. How much time does it take also to get a loan, and what are the things that you typically look for? So, is this an unsecured loan also, and what is the typical size that you give?
Dhaval, hi, Amit here. I'll just take 4 to 5 minutes to brief about the company and what all are we offering. So basically, HDFC Credila is the only non-banking financial company which deals only into one product, that is education. We don't have any other product. So being a non-banking financial company, generally they get a license to fund for housing loans, SME loans, business loans. But we don't want to mix up with different products. That is the reason we are currently funding only for education loans. Okay. Earlier, it was started by two brothers, but now HDFC has acquired entire stakes in the company, and they own 100% in this. We are glad to be a AAA rating company.
And I think, what is your loan book? How much loan have you given so far? Is it about? I think what I last remember was about 7,000 crores.
We have crossed 10,000 crores currently. We have funded more than 35 plus countries, 2,100 plus institutions, and for 1,000 plus different courses.
Okay, fantastic. And can you just tell us a little bit about how and what you look for? Is this loan an unsecured loan, and what are the documents typically?
Sure. Few features I will also let you know that. So we do unsecured funding also. 35 to 40 lakhs is what we do unsecured funding, but currently it's for USA and Canada what we are opting that much amount. For other countries, in few countries, the unsecured loan is up to 10 to 15 lakh rupees, and in rest of the countries, we prefer some collateral security. So collateral may also we are quite flexible. It is not mandatory that collateral can be in one state only. So we accept multi-city co-borrowers and multi-city collaterals also. If a student is in Mumbai, his father, his parents are in Pune, and if they have a property in Kolkata or some other city, we can accept that also. Okay. We don't have any upper capping for education loan. So few.
Amit, we have a question for you, which is like, what is the loan repayment structure?
Okay. Eh, there are multiple repayment options in education loan. Okay. One option is that the installment during the study period only a part interest has to be paid. Part interest means installment as low as 1,000 or 2,000 rupees, and that is for the course duration plus the grace period, what is 12 months after the course. So assuming the course duration is 24 months, assuming the grace period is 12, we give the grace period of 12 months. So 24 plus 12 months, they have the parents will have to pay only 2,000 rupees or 1,000 rupees, and the installments will start after that, after 3 years. We can give a loan tenure for 13 to 14 years also. Okay. Second option, if
So
the
what is the general EMI? If I just wanted to understand this, just also generally if someone took a 35 or 40 or say 30 lakh rupees of a loan, what is the general EMI for them? Which it'll start, of course, after the course is over, right? So 1 year after the course is over, the EMI starts, right?
right after the course, but it actually depends what is the loan amount disbursement they have taken. So we will, if you want, we will take a rough example. Assuming a loan availed is for 25 lakhs rupees. Okay.
What
And
is the maximum loan one can take?
we have funded above 1 CR also, so we don't have any upper capping for education loan. Loan amount can be we fund for tuition and living expenses also.
Okay, great. So so I'll let you speak. So you were taking an example. So
Yeah.
maybe Amit, you could just explain with that
I was
example.
taking an example, so I will take a rough example for
Yeah.
which is easy to calculate for everyone. Assuming we take a loan amount for 25 lakhs rupees.
Yeah.
Okay. Assuming we take a rate of interest of 12%, which is easy to calculate. So
Sure.
25 lakhs ka 12% comes to 3 lakh rupees. That is per annum. Per
Sure.
month it will be 3 lakh divided by 12. That comes to 25,000 rupees. So 25,000 is the interest per month what the student will either have to pay, or if they are not paying that, so that amount gets accrued. So I gave an example that student can pay as less as 2,000 rupees interest.
Yeah.
So if they are not paying 25,000 and they are paying only 2,000 rupees as interest, so
Yeah.
that means 23,000 is what they are not paying to us.
Correct.
Okay. For how many months they are not paying to us? 36 months.
Got it.
So the total amount comes to 8 lakhs 28,000. 23,000 into 36 months, if we calculate, that comes to 8 lakh 28,000 rupees.
Got it.
That is the accrued interest. Normally, few financial institutions, what do? There is a interest on interest every month on this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we don't do. Only
Okay.
23,000 into 36 months is added in this. Now, after 36 months, the outstanding will be 25 plus 828. That comes to 3328.
Okay.
33 lakhs
So what you're
28,000.
saying is that the advantages for your loan is essentially that you don't charge an interest on interest, right?
Right. We don't charge interest on interest during the first 36 months. After that, a client, if they want to make a repayment in between, that is possible. Best thing about the education loan is the tax benefits also.
Right. And can I just understand also how many? Because now let's understand your structure. When you're giving for Canada and US, you were saying that you're doing about 30 to 40 lakhs is what you can typically give unsecured, right?
Right.
So if it's unsecured, that means collateral of your home property, etc. Now these I feel how is this the largest part of your portfolio?
US and Canada or unsecured?
Yeah, US and Canada.
Yeah, so we have divided our loans in different segments. So one is a US segment because most of the chunk goes there only.
Sure.
Then comes India segment and then abroad segment. So in abroad, it is apart from USA, all the other countries.
Okay.
So yeah, maximum our total portfolio will be around 40 plus 40 50 40 to 50% plus is USA, and rest is divided amongst India and other abroad.
Okay. So is Canada increasing now?
Yes, Canada is increasing. Ireland is also increasing. If you might be aware about that.
Yes, yes.
So
So another question that I have here is that what's for unsecured now? Because I'm sure a lot of students will want to know this, especially those who are going for Masters of Science. MBA a little bit, different. But if they're going for a Masters of Science, Masters in Management, or Masters of Business Analytics, things of that sort. Now, what? So if you're giving an unsecured loan, maybe about 30 or 40 lakhs worth, because that should be good enough for them also. Some of them, if it's a 1 year, to a 1.5 year course,
mhm.
um, what is the documents that you require, and which allows them also, from what I understand, is a good GRE GMAT score also is important for you when you're giving out an unsecured loan.
Very important. Since we are doing unsecured loan and we are giving partial interest as low as 2,000 rupees, what I told. So
Yeah.
why are we giving that? Because we have to bank on the student, not on the parent. Okay. So very important. We have to see how strong are the acats of the student. We
Okay.
can process the loan without admission letter also. So if you are aware, in US, whenever a student is applying to the university, they have to show their finances.
Right.
A
Right.
student goes to any bank will ask for the either the I-20 letter or the admission letter from the
Absolutely,
university.
absolutely. So for that's
Yeah.
what we put here is that if you look at the visa requirements for US, for the F1, you need to have the statement of funds either from a loan company that basically says that you can cover the entire first year amount.
Right, absolutely.
So if you cannot cover the first, so what happens is many of them have money in different accounts, and then they have fixed deposits and things of that sort. So sometimes having a loan right there is very easy for them to get that F1 visa approved, because you won't have questions on finances then.
So yeah, I was on. So again, the university also, before giving the admit, they will ask for the finances. So we can give a solvency letter, we can give a sanction letter, we can approve the loan on the basis of the acats of the student, on the basis of the GRE exam, GRE, TOEFL, IELTS
What
exam.
is the typical score that you look for, which is a good score for you?
See, we can fund if the GRE score is about 300. Still, we can fund unsecured loan. If it is less than 300, then on basis we have to review. So many times it happens we do ask for collateral security if the schools are there. But again, we have to
If
check
they
that
have a
section.
three, so if they have a three, 15 plus, do they have a stronger case, and do you give them a better interest rate, anything of that sort?
Yes, we are also we are also working on a product where the interest rates will be different for 320 plus, 310 plus, 300 plus GRE students. Again,
Fantastic.
we were yet to we were up to finalize that product, but due to current scenario, we are currently moving on online process. So online process also, we have started to log in the file and approve the file. So we will
Okay.
get back to you on the rates. What will be the different rates for different
Fantastic.
wise score wise.
Fantastic. And what is, can you just give two more questions? One is that how much time does it take to process it? So one, you've said that, before you get the admit letter, also you can apply for a loan basis some of the things which you mentioned, the GMAT or the GRE score, also the academics like transcripts, I assume, that you would want for them. What else? So, how much time would it take for you to approve once you have all the documents in place?
So once we have all the documents, if the loan is processed without collateral security, we can get the loan approved in 6 to 7 working days. If the loan is with collateral security, then It takes 8 to 10 working days.
Okay, so for collateral, what do you need? Just the original documents,
No, no, not the
maybe the
original.
title
Currently,
document.
original documents we will need during the disbursement. Right
Okay,
now, we will need all the Xerox copies of the. What collateral a student is giving, we can fund on the HDFC funded property also. If a parent has a housing loan running with HDFC, we can also fund them on the same
on the
collateral.
basis of that.
Yeah, they
Okay.
don't have to give us any different property as security.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much. I think this is great information. I appreciate, Amit, that you were able to share it with our students. Moving on, maybe I think what I wanted to discuss, because, I kind of went through a lot of the applicants, and the success stories. But one of the things which I want to talk about for B schools, especially if you're applying, to B schools across, the world. Um, so today, if you look at countries across the world, everyone has good B schools. UK has great B schools, some of them really well known. France has some. You've seen, US having many of them, and then of course Canada. So we're seeing that a number of good B schools. Most of these, which are in the top, which you see here in the QS rankings, they typically need, even if they might mention 2 years, but typically they need about 3 years of experience. That just improves your chances of getting the admission. So maybe after you finish, 2 years, and then you decide that, to start applying. So most of these schools, the application process starts a year ahead of time. So the early deadlines, or the first deadlines happen somewhere around September. Um, there are still schools in the UK, which you can apply. There are still deadlines for the 2020, which are still open. Canada, US, most of the deadlines have been affected. By the way, many of the deadlines, even which are the third deadlines, have now become rolling. So if you still want to go 2020, there are still deadlines which are rolling. People have removed the deadlines, and just said that as and when we get applications, we're going to take decisions. And yes, the next 4 months are going to be also fairly, challenging for all of us in a way. But I see that things will improve once 4 months pass by, and even in, come the semester, the fall semester, I think people will sort of know how well prepared that most of these schools will be. They will not put students in uncertain situations. So unless that they are completely prepared, they will not have the semester running through, and they might delay starting it or something of that sort, in which case anyways you would know, and at the most you would defer your admission. But admissions that you take this year will definitely be less challenging than the year after, because the year after there'll be a lot more people running to get admissions also, because of the market environment, which is going to be challenging. There is going to be some kind of temporary recession that you're going to see. Economies across the world are going to be affected to an extent. So these are the times when you see a lot of them going back to study for either a master's or an MBA, or a PhD, whatever that might be. That's what they, many of them end up doing. That being said, again, for B schools, the top B schools, they need to have a score of 700 plus in your GMAT. About a 3 years of experience is good. And then, of course, a lot of profile building in terms of leadership. Even your entire application, with your recommendations, with your transcripts, with your essays, your long-term, short-term goals, your alternative, goals. A lot of these things are what you sort of require. I'm happy to take any questions after this, and sort of go through. There is a lot of slides. Maybe at some point in time we can, again take this up. But again, for B school, soft skills and hard skills, communication, interpersonal skills, intellectual and creativity. This is what they look for in top business schools. So focus on hard skills is be certain of a path. Uh, if you're part of an exclusive club, that's great. So if you've been part of maybe Google's startup that they can ask, EY, or a well-known established company and team, that's definitely great to have. Taking on responsibilities that others won't take up, creating new learning curves, business skills, projects or strategic, of strategic importance. Maybe, this is a story for everyone in terms of what they did at this time when, everyone's quarantined. Some of them did something creative, something, good. You could always use that in your stories. Be a part of sport is also good if you can. Or if you're an avid reader, photographer, there's other things that you can show about yourself. And also EQ plus IQ both matter. So showing how have you shown maturity or in attitude, professionalism, how you've achieved a balance at your workplace. All these things are important for B schools. Also, a lot of B schools have now started having something called a deferred MBA versus a regular MBA. Regular MBA is where, of course, you need work experience. A deferred MBA is something you can apply when you're in your last year of college. So if you're in your last year, your fourth year of engineering, you can still apply for a deferred MBA. We had one of our students who was a law student. He finished law, and then he wanted to apply, or he was about to finish law, and he wanted to apply for an MBA. And so Harvard has a deferred MBA. There are about 7-8 programs across the world at this point which have deferred MBAs. But of course, they're fairly competitive. So this is just giving an idea that one, they don't require experience, but what they require is that you need to have a great application. You need to have a great academic stream. Stanford, for instance, has a deferred MBA, but they do tend to prefer master's students who already have a master's and then applied for a deferred MBA is also what we've seen. Again, this slide just goes through one, competition is less intense at a regular versus the deferred because there are only about 10% seats for a deferred MBA. So what does deferred MBA mean is that you can apply in your last year, and that means you will get to go to the program not that year, but 2 years hence. So you can work for 2 years and then go to the MBA. So this student that I told you from law who applied, he went to Harvard. So he got into Harvard Business School, and he's deferred his, of course, admission for 2 years. So he's going to be going in fall next year. A lot of them, of course, for deferred admission have STEM backgrounds. There's less for that in the regular MBA. There are 38% versus 62%. Average GMAT scores also differ. And of course, there are less seats versus more seats for a regular MBA. This is just some more about us. How do we help you out? Is we help you craft a customized solution to ensure success. We provide you a strategy and custom sessions for GMAT, GRE. A personalized approach to university shortlisting is tailored to individual candidates. We provide with the profile building. We tell you essentially what you can do. So that happens through personalized sessions. So that's why we tend to have personalized sessions first with you, and then kind of build a roadmap for it and tell you how we can work, across it. One of, our advantages are that we give you the individualized attention. We have experts with personal experience and knowledge of international education, peer and mentor network, a comprehensive understanding of various university requirements, a proven track record, and personal certifications. So these are sort of, just how we kind of help you out. We can share this slide later. I think this is all our services. You've heard most of it throughout the, the seminar. And what sets us apart is, of course, in-depth discussion on career options. So we evaluate requirements, provide the mentoring sessions, tell you how profile building needs to happen, help you with the entrance preparation, and then deliver information throughout the year on differentiating programs. So the earlier you come through with us, the more help you can get, to reach your, goals, and also, go to good universities.